Alright, here we go. This is footage from Divinity 2. It was kickstarted and has been in kind of limbo for a while now, but that's neither here nor there. This is my review of The Orville, the pilot episode on Old Wounds. So, as per the usual of my reviews, I give the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'll give the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then I'll tell you my overall thoughts after the cut. Okay, so The Orville is not what people have been saying. I know a lot of critics are saying it's flat, it's tonally deaf. The people who are saying that really don't get it. Because basically Fox marketed this as a raunchy-ass Seth MacFarlane comedy set in a Star Trek-esque parody type of thing. It really isn't. It's the opposite of that. Basically they were going in expecting it to be Galaxy Quest, the TV show, but it isn't. The Orville, at its core, is a show made by someone who is a fan of Star Trek, right? It has certain beats that are very Star Trek-like, but the Orville is not Star Trek. It's very different from Star Trek. Well, not very different, but it's an homage to Star Trek, not a beat for beat the same thing. But if you're a Star Trek fan, you're going to watch the Orville and be like, oh snap, this is giving me my Star Trek fix. And this is going to get into spoilers, but this is going to be kind of a total review of the pilot episode. Basically, the main character, played by Seth MacFarlane, his name is Ed. He's someone who's been who was reasonably competent, but some personal things happen. He gets divorced from his wife, finds out she's cheating on him, and he basically that traumatic event basically causes him to kind of become an F-up. It affects his career and everything like that. So basically, relatively competent. Shit got real, and he's basically got to kind of pull stuff together. And so essentially he gets through a lucky break via way of someone who used to be very close to him. Spoiler alert, it's his wife. His ex-wife basically pulls some strings and helps him get command of the Orville, which is a mid-sized exploration cruiser in the Union, which is basically the Orville's version of the Federation. And basically he finally gets what he's always wanted. He's essentially he's determined not to F it up. So he goes and he gets one of his close friends who's kind of like who's another helmsman, and he's like, look, I can't, who's kind of an F up himself, basically the Orville essentially shows the rank and file people, the equivalent, it's the equivalent to a rank and file look at what the normal people do in the Star Trek universe. Because not everyone can be Jean-Luc Picard, Catherine Janeway, Benjamin Sisko. They're normal, everyday Joe Blow people who have stuff to do. And in this case, the everyday Joe Blow people are folks like, this poor bastard, are folks like a helmsman, a doctor who, goes out of her way to find places where there's people who need help, both mentally and physically. Maybe not, who's qualified for better, but not necessarily reaching for higher qualified tiered positions. And essentially, the opening of the first part of the episode is basically dedicated to getting the crew together. captain making his various remarks and getting to know his bridge crew. And one of the things is that the lieutenant commander position, the number 2 position, has been empty on this ship. And so, to add tension to it, his ex-wife winds up becoming his second in command, which kind of throws him for a loop because he's like, look, the reason I am the way I am right now is because of stuff that my wife did. He's like he can't, but it turns out that despite their personal things, professionally, they complement each other. So things turn out well throughout the first episode's conflict. That's the good. The other good is that thus far, there's some really good casting. Everyone feels authentic to the positions. The music is pretty good. It hits that epic, Explorers type music. And I'm happy to say this isn't a Seth MacFarlane going too far with the dirty jokes. This isn't A Million Ways to Die in the West all over again. Which, personally, I always found Seth MacFarlane, when he can pull back and he's a little bit more subtle with his humor, is actually, to me, makes a better product than when he just throws shit together. That's just me personally. So with that being said, let's talk about essentially the elephant in the room, the bad, after the cut. So, essentially, the bad of the show, like most shows, is that the first episode isn't really reminiscent of, you're not getting all the cards on the table. The thing about syndicated TV is that the first few episodes, it really doesn't start to pick up. No show has grabbed anyone from the first episode, generally speaking, except for maybe Magnum PI and Knight Rider. But, that's the 80s. That was a different time. Generally speaking, especially with sci-fi shows, they get better over time because there's a lot of world building you have to do and stuff like that. And the Orville is no different. The pilot episode is basically just building the world, and it's a 48 minute episode, so you're not getting an hour with commercial breaks. You're not getting the type of world building where everything is being laid out bit by bit by bit. And some people might say, well, that's terrible, but that's just the way it is. Personally, that doesn't bother me, but some people will say this is starting off a little too slow. For me personally, that didn't really bother me. I was like, okay, look, I understand that you have to do world building on this show. Every show, the first episode is not going to grab you. I'm not even going to compare it directly to Star Trek. Babylon 5, the first few episodes didn't do everything. Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who, the first few episodes are never really gonna really grab you. With a syndicated TV show, it takes, I say, 3 to 5 episodes. If they don't have you by the 5th episode, then you can tell it's not for you. But you have to give it 3 to 5. Okay, generally speaking. Now, once you get to the 5th one and it starts to get intriguing, you're like, okay, I can see where this is going. So, that's the bad and the ugly after the cut. So, here's the ugly. The Orville, right now, is doing okay. I think for its first pilot episode, it had a viewership rating of 7.35 million, which was going head to head with the NFL football. First game of the season for, I think, the Cowboys and the Giants. So that that's kind of a big deal. But there are going to be inevitable comparisons to this and Star Trek Discovery, aka STD. So, what I'll say is this. Star Trek Discovery, I'm not going to watch it, not because I don't think it's going to be, you know, not because of, you know, the actors or anything like that, but just I don't like how it's being handled. I don't like that they're throwing away all this continuity. They're trying to tie it to those shitty J. Abrams films. You know, 60 years of continuity being thrown out the window. Them disrespecting the old fans of Star Trek for new fans who have shown that they don't give a shit about Star Trek because, I mean, look at Star Trek Beyond. I mean, like, basically you've had diminishing returns relying on the old fans of Star Trek. And yet, I mean, not the old fans, the new fans. Like, they came in with the original Star Trek. They went to see Star Trek Into Darkness, and they were like, nah, this isn't for me. And then they completely abandoned the franchise by Star Trek Beyond. Mostly. So, I mean, you can't really rely on, you know, new fans for this. So, I mean, that's them. Plus, they're using Star Trek Discovery to push, how can I put this, to push their shitty online service, which I personally don't give a shit about, and I won't be getting. So, I mean, I'm not gonna get the online service. I'll watch the pilot episode maybe, but after that, I'm not watching anything beyond that. So, you know, because I'm not gonna support it. Like, if it fails, maybe CBS will learn their lesson and give people the show that they want. They probably won't because they love, you know, CBS is run by money people who know how to keep the numbers in line, but like, they don't understand the spirit of the artistry of the industry. So with that being said, that's the good, the bad, the ugly. I'll give you my overall thoughts about the Orville after the final cut, and we'll also do upcoming events too. So, here's just my final thoughts, and we'll also go over upcoming events for the channel. My final thoughts about the Orville is this. It has a lot of promise. If you want to scratch that Star Trek itch, but Discovery is kind of putting you off, then the Orville might just, you know, do what you need it to do. Personally, I'm going to endorse the Orville over Star Trek Discovery because the Orville actually has people who have worked on Star Trek for years, and people who are fans of Star Trek working on it. So these are people who know how to build a sci-fi show. They have the expertise for it. So you're getting a higher quality product. Okay. And I also don't think they're going to disrespect fans of, you know, Star Trek or the Orville with bullshit like over there at CBS. So with that being said, if you want to watch a science fiction show that shows the average working everyday people, you know, what the mid-rankers, what people who have science vessels and medical ships are doing in the Star Trek universe, except not quite the Star Trek universe, then this show is for you. You know, with some of Seth MacFarlane's humor tempered down a bit, so it's not as off the chain, then this is perfect. So yeah, upcoming events for the channel. We have some videos coming out next week. Mostly the big one is going to be my review for the Orville season 2, or sorry, second episode of the first season, which is airing Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So look forward to that. It's going to come earlier. The one for this one is a week after, but I mean, I've been busy this week, you know, a lot of stuff has been going on. And I also have another video coming out about my thoughts about the Bethesda Creation Club. Look forward to that. And that's it. We also have next week, Saturday, we'll be doing another Sci-Fi Power Hour. And this one's going to be a little bit special because I'm going to be doing a debate with someone about DC versus Marvel, the cinematic universes. But as everyone knows, I'm a huge Marvel fanboy. You know, Marvel totally gives me money. I'm being facetious, by the way. I will be defending DC, and the person who I will be debating will be defending Marvel. So it's gonna be, we're gonna flip the switch and debate counterpoints against each other, our counter stances, if you will. So that'll be fun. And also this next Sunday we will be doing a BS Busters once again at 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of the shows on the weekend are podcasts are at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to watch, tune in. So don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. If you have any, if you would like topics to be covered for the Sci-Fi Power Hour, or news stories that you don't think we're not giving attention to, you can always give them to us on, you can always leave your suggestions in the comment section. Also, if you have any topics you would like us to cover in the Sci-Fi Power Hour, you can also leave those topics in the comment section. But remember, these are science fiction concepts, so please keep it to sci-fi in video game, TV, whatever form. So it's science fiction. So there you go. And with that, I bid you a good day.